It's the best part of the story, undeniably. Everything that had happened before was really all about separation and the struggle of relationships. But you got to start with the birth story. The birth itself, which we refer to, obviously, is the Christmas story itself, and the fact that God became a man. It was God with skin on, really, in Jesus. And so all of the things that you ever hear about Christmas are all related to the story of trying to understand who in the world Jesus Christ is. But not only did he become a man, he engaged the world in a whole new way. And even though nobody would have recognized him or noticed him for anything uniquely special, he really was a Jewish man in a Jewish community in a normal sort of way. But at a certain point in his life, it became very apparent that he was introducing what he called the kingdom of God. And that becomes important because the whole story of often we think about the Bible, the New Testament stories about Jesus, the things that he did, the way he related to poor, the way he related to the sick, the way he related to diseased and dysfunctional people, fed people, created miracles, did things, preached, taught, and said some wonderful things that the world became familiar with. It was really an introduction to them at that time and to us about what the kingdom of God was really like. And ultimately, that was the fact that he was showing that God had ultimate authority. Authority over life and death, authority over disease and sickness, and all the kinds of things. And that ultimately, he became in teaching about the fulfillment of everything that in the what we call the Old Testament was the dysfunctions of life, how to relate back to God, how to trust God, and that sort of thing. And that's what Jesus really taught, his power. But his life was not just about conquering diseases and sickness in the earthly sense, because there's a lot of people who've done a lot of great things as humans in this world. But the ultimate fulfillment of that is he conquered the greatest problem that we had, and that is our ultimate separation that we're struggling with as human beings. And he did it in this way. He died. He was the only human being that did not deserve to die, but did die. He's the only one that actually, as a human, had perfect relationship with God, which is really why the Bible calls him the second Adam. The first Adam was to be in relationship with God and yet failed. The second Adam came in Jesus, and he didn't fail out of that. But he was sentenced to die in a human world, a Roman world at that time, and all the different nuances that took place. But that's the story of the cross. That's the story of the crucifixion that we become familiar with and see on church buildings a lot. But ultimately, he conquered death by defeating it on that third day, which will happen to be a Sunday, which happened to be what we now call Easter Sunday. And it is the story of the resurrection. That becomes important for us because he ultimately says any one of us who trust him can now defeat death and conquer death in that same exact way. That is his resurrection. And it becomes important that you understand that he revealed himself in that resurrection, came back in the flesh. He met with many, many, many people for a period of time, a short period of time, but during a period of time, came back and showed himself. He eventually went what we call the ascension, or what we call the going back up into heaven to be in heaven again in that way, and left people like us as human beings to be his followers. And we live in a period of time where we are called to trust God. We are called to now live in that perfect relationship, or that relationship again, even though we still live in a state of separation and a period of imperfection in that way, but we can trust him and live our lives in that way. But the final part of the story, of course, is that one of these days, and it could be sooner or later, is that Jesus Christ will return again and make things right again. And that's the story of the New Testament. That's the story of the Bible. Ooh, that was the longest one.